Hello and welcome back to the Indian Wisdom Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Raj Balkaran, and you might be looking for some inspired insight from ancient India, maybe something that you can latch on to and chew on and digest and apply in your everyday life. And perhaps you don't mind being told a tale or two. Today's episode, like many episodes, features a story. Well, which story is that? The story of the three wishes. Well, which three wishes? Well, glad you asked. Once upon a time, in ancient India, there was this man, middle aged man. He had been doing sadhana, spiritual practice, daily for decades. He understood that spiritual practice is that which renders onto the individual, onto the seeker, the ability to center oneself, the ability to process and register and perceive that which is beyond the mundane fluctuations of mind. Because outside of sadhana or spiritual practice, there is no shortage of activities. Indeed, all activities pertaining to the world are by definition mundane, pun intended, having to do with the world, and worldly insofar as their activities which render proclivities and perspectives pertaining to material creation, pertaining to social constructs, pertaining to the ways in which we identify and navigate the world and other people in society. And so, in order to develop and cultivate an awareness that is other than or beyond the awarenesses rendered by the world, one needs to withdraw. That withdrawal can be daily in the form of spiritual practice, it can be periodically in the form of retreats, etc. But nevertheless, it's necessary to unplug and withdraw, particularly in our times, because there are so many stimuli. There are so many ways in which distractions can interrupt our day, infiltrate our lives. Indeed, the distractions are the white noise of our life, depending on the extent to which we are slaves to scrolling and trolling, etc., etc. Now, understanding the power of sadhana, this man, he was doing a mantra to the great god Shiva. Many an appearance has Shiva made in tales told upon this podcast. In this case, he was doing this great, common, powerful mantra to Shiva, Om Namah Shivaya. 5 simple syllables. Is great esoteric import in terms of each syllable representing an element of material creation, but that perhaps is an exposition for another day. Suffice it to know, the man adopted the mantra with great fixity of mind, focus, and devotion. And he did his mantra daily at his altar, shrine, the spiritual spot in his home. You may have a spot in your home where you work out. You may have a spot in your home where you are a couch potato, featuring a couch, perhaps a television. Many who do practice have a space, which is their sacred space. And the space becomes conditioned by the activities associated with the space. And so it becomes easier to slip into a deeper or more immediate meditative state, pending one's allocation and usage of that space. So he sat at his altar in his spiritual space and he did his mantra, and he had a murti of Shiva to which he made offerings. He performed puja, this ancient primordial ritual where elemental offerings are made to the divine with great devotion and steadfastness. He offered flame and water and fruits and flowers and incense. And sometimes some food offerings were made, some cooked foods, etc. Maybe kheer, maybe rice pudding, etc. Maybe the odd gulab jamun or two, especially on a holiday, maybe on Shivratri, the annual great night of Shiva. Day in and day out, he performed his penance and meditated upon the great three-eyed Lord. And one day, to his joyous astonishment, the Lord appeared before him to offer him darshana, vision. He obtained a vision of the great god Shiva. And Shiva, pleased with his penance, smiled and said, my son, I offer you not one, not two, but three wishes. Now, certainly you've read enough Puranic tales to know that one cannot wish for immortality, though the demons always try to wish for mortality and they find some kind of way where they think they can circumvent this fail safe and wish something along the lines of, may I not be killed at day or night, and then by virtue of the loophole, some Vishnu typically comes down to kill them at twilight. um, so you can't wish for immortality. You know this, and you can't wish for more wishes. You know this. You've read all of these Puranic tales, so you understand how this works. Other than that, anything within material creation you can wish for, whatever you desire. And the man was so contented, and then he thought about his desires. He thought about his greatest desire. Now, it just so happened this was a phase in the man's life where a few weeks before he met a woman in the marketplace. He was happily married with grown children. He was middle-aged for that in those days. In our times, middle age is still quite young, actually. People work into their 70s very easily. But, he met this younger woman in the market and their eyes caught, and he knew there was a spark there. He knew it was more than his maya, his delusion. He knew that there was a connection there, and she was so beautiful and fair, selling her wares at the marketplace. But, he would never cheat on his wife. And so, as soon as Shiva said, whatever it is you desire can be yours, the word desire triggered in him his most pressing desire, his desire to be with this woman. So the man sheepishly said to the Lord, "Oh Lord, I do indeed have a great desire. It is not noble. It's not the most noble of desires." Shiva said, "We do not judge. Desire is desire. Desire is the fire which propels material creation. Without desire, none of this would exist. I've been schooled well by my consort Shakti, Parvati, sometimes Kali when I don't pay attention. She schooled me well on the nature and power of desire which pulsates through creation, spawning all of its activities. And so, whatever it is you desire, I can certainly return and grant your wish. Have a think, perhaps. No, Lord. Let me save you a trip. Save me a trip? What do you mean? I know gas is expensive these days. I have sort of, teleportational powers. Save me a trip? What do you mean? Well, certainly I will accept your gracious gift of three wishes. Shiva had actually given him a special mantra, a secret mantra, so secret I cannot repeat it here. A secret mantra to utter, whereby to summon the Lord to fulfill the boon, the wish of the utterer's desire. But he said, I will use this mantra 2 more times and summon you, O great Lord. But now that you are here, and now that a great desire, already exists within this mind of mine, may I ask for its fulfillment now? And Shiva said, well, if that is your wish, if you wish to wish for what you wish for now, so be it. What is your wish? It is not. It's the most noble wish, Lord. It is all right. We do not judge. What is it that you desire? We'll make it possible for you. And the man sheepishly said, there's this young woman in the market, and there's such chemistry between us, and I just long to be with her, and I cannot because, I'm happily married, and Can you find a way? Please, certainly you can. You're omnipotent, you're all powerful. You find a way for us to be together. And Shiva said, no problem. So be it. Tastu snapped his fingers. And at that moment, the man's wife dropped dead. And Shiva said, your wife shall come with me to Kailasha, to eternal life, and now you'll be free to pursue your desire. And the Lord vanished. And for a moment, the man was in shock. His wife had just collapsed, moreover, because of his wish. And then, upon some reflection, he thought, well, she'll be well cared for in the presence of the Lord. And she had to die eventually. Justifications emerged. We are in an age where so much can be so easily justified. The more intelligent the person is, the better their justifications and excuses. Because when intellect alone is shorn of or divorced from wisdom, then intelligence can be used for all manner of machinations upon this earth. And so the man thought to himself, look, she had to die anyways. And now I've gotten her a ticket into everlasting life. And certainly this is a mournful time, and mourn I shall. But all things pass, and this too shall pass. And once there has been sufficient mourning in a respectable amount of time, after the passing of my wife, I pursue this young woman and have a life with her. And so preparations were made for the woman's funeral, and there was a wake, and people came from far and wide throughout the village and from various other villages far and wide across the mountainside. And folks came to commiserate and lament and mourn and share and tell stories. Such is the power of story. They told stories about their interactions with the dearly departed. What stories will be told of you once you have left this earth? By your nearest and dearest, your kith and kin, your friends, your foes. What stories will be told? Those stories that will be told are the very stories you are authoring now. What story will you author today? What experience will you have? And so the stories were told about the dearly departed. And by virtue of the stories, her virtues shone forth. See, she was a very kind-hearted woman, caring pillar of our community, quite a nurturing soul. And so when folks were in need, she helped as best she could. She gave in service. She sometimes provided food. One villager reported when her children were struggling with school, she helped to tutor them. Another villager mentioned that whenever he would come by, if ever he was hungry, she would always have a meal for him. And the stories poured in. Such were her deeds, that they had been etched, eulogized, unwittingly eulogized upon the hearts of those she touched with her punya, with her meritorious activities. Both papa and punya, both merit and demerit, have the power to touch, have the power to impact. Both are inscribed in the memories of others. And so both unwittingly author the tales to be told about you, both while you are living and particularly when you are dead. And so, by virtue of the tales told about the goodness of the woman that he married, the man had a dual lamentation, the lamentation of her demise and the oh so heavy lamentation of his role, of his part in her demise. What have I done, he thought. What have I done? And so the very next day, the man did his puja as normal. He did his mantra to Shiva, his regular mantra. He did his offerings of fire and water and incense and fruit and foodstuffs. And after that, he closed his eyes and concentrated upon the Lord and did his special, esoteric, wish fulfilling mantra. And Shiva appeared before him, beaming as always, and said, my son, what is your desire at present? How may we serve you at best to fulfill this desire of yours? And the man lamented before the Lord, sorrowful, and said, Lord, I've made a great mistake. And Shiva said, well, there really is no such thing as mistakes. But from your perspective, I understand there are actions that you regret. But all actions are part of the plan, knowingly or unknowingly. And so, what is this perceived mistake of yours? Well, I should really, I do feel a chemistry with this young woman, but who knows how long that will last? Will it last a year? Will it last a decade? Will she be capable of bringing me and those around us the great joy that my wife brought? I highly doubt that. And so, dear Lord, for my second wish, I wish to undo my first wish. And Shiva smiled and said, so you wish to undo the wish you made at first, using up two of your three wishes and leaving a sole wish alone. Just before I action this request, I want to ensure that I understand correctly and that you understand correctly that in undoing your first wish, only one wish will remain. And the man said, yes, I understand fully, and I accept my own folly, and I accept the consequence, and I happily cash in wish number 2 to undo wish number 1 and leave the sole remaining blank check of wish number 3. And Shiva said, no problem, so be it. Tatastu. He snapped his fingers. And they returned to the moment in time, right when the first wish was made, before he had uttered it, before his wife dropped dead. And Shiva smiled, and he remembered. No one else remembered the chain of events, but he did. Through memory, through smriti, an entire class of scriptures called smriti in Hinduism, because without memory, of what use is knowledge if not recalled in your time of need? It is like money loaned, unavailable to you to be spent when you need it. And so he remembered what he needed to remember. The man's wife was restored to life. Well, they were actually returned to the moment in time before she passed. And so he breathed a sigh of relief, content that he had learned something important, and content that he still had one more wish. So he went down, happily greeted his wife and connected with her and appreciated her even more deeply than before. Sometimes we don't appreciate something until it's gone, such is the nature of transient existence. And so the man realized he had this one wish. So he thought to himself, in my foolishness, what I thought I desired, I didn't really desire. Do I really know what I want? Does anybody know what they want? What does it mean to want? What is the best thing to want? Well, I'm a simple man, but there are those who are learned. I will seek the counsel of the learned, of the sages, of the pundits, of the panditas, of the scholars. And through this education, I'll come to know what wish is the best wish to be wished, which desire is best among desires. And so the man, at first he started taking some online courses. He watched some YouTube videos, some lovely swamis, had some ideas, some online teachers. He maybe even took some courses at the Indian Wisdom School. various other platforms. And he started traveling far and wide, even to seek, local professors and scholars and so-called sages and even wise people in the village, people he trusted and he knew. And he asked them, hypothetically speaking, just asking for a friend, what is the best wish to wish? What would you wish for? What would you wish for? What would you wish for? And the answers were as multitudinous as the people he asked. There were some patterns to be discerned, but everyone had a little nuance. Everyone had their own particular perspective, in direct tandem with their desire and what it is they desired in life. Wish for name and fame, said one. Another said, wish for money, inexhaustible wealth, because obviously money can fulfill other desires, and wishing for inexhaustible wealth is like wishing for more wishes, isn't it? Wouldn't you like inexhaustible wealth? Wouldn't that solve all of your problems? And then another chimed in, well, I have great wealth, but I don't have health, so I can't enjoy the wealth. What would it be like to be ill and, scarcely able to breathe, much less digest food, and sickly? What kind of life is this? Of what use is wealth without health? So wish for robust health. You will always feel good. And if it is your desire to have nice things or more things or what have you, then with health you can make wealth. Isn't it so? And yet another series of voices interjected throughout his research, investigation, his ethnographic research into this theoretical query of what wish would you wish for. Another important voice emerged, which said, look, I have health, I have wealth, but I'm alone. I've not lived my life in such a way so as to appreciate and care for people. Certainly, we all have ups and downs, and, we don't always appreciate people fully, but really, I didn't pay much attention to people at all. I was so self absorbed. And so I'm lonely. No one comes to visit me. I'm so glad you came. You knocked on the door. I thought you were Jehovah's Witness or Hare Krishna, but I'm so glad that you came with this question. Have some interaction today. Wish for company, wish for loving relationships, which feed your soul. Irrespective of your wealth or your health, this ability to connect with other people and be loved and accepted and nourished by their presence. What greater wish is there upon the earth than this? The man was becoming a little bit agitated, confused, dismayed, because the more answers he got, the less clarity he got. The more perspectives which entered his mind, the more vacillations, the more fluctuations, the more deliberations of what to wish for. So day in and day out, he pondered the various responses he received and chewed upon them, reflected upon them from various angles, trying to think which would be the best fit for himself, which would be the best fit for humans in general. What is it that one should wish for? What is the best thing to be desired? And really, these wishes became sort of like curses. Because rather than alleviate his suffering, he suffered greatly trying to cogitate and contemplate upon which wish to wish. And so one morning, at his wits' end, ready to pull out his own hair in frustration and confusion, he uttered the sacred special esoteric mantra, and the great god Shiva appeared before him, smiling resplendently and calmly as always. And Shiva said, "How may we serve you, my son? What wish do you wish upon this day?" And the man said, "Oh, Shiva, great god, Yogeshwara, oh great yogi, oh lord of yogis, oh lord of yoga itself, I wish to know which wish to wish for. What is the best thing a human can wish for? But wait, caution Shiva, my son, my son. In wishing to know this thing, you will have used up your third wish, and then you will have no more wishes with which to satisfy this wish." And the man said, "It's okay, I understand the consequences. I understand that because of my folly, these blessings have become curses. And I understand that in using up this third wish to gain the answer to my question, I'll have no more wishes left to use, but I'll at least have peace. I'll be out of my misery. I'll stop thinking and obsessing and lamenting and rejecting. Please, Lord, in your infinite mercy, for my third and final wish, I wish for knowledge. I wish to know what is the best thing for a human to wish for." And Shiva smiled and blessed him with this knowledge. And Shiva said, my son, it is wishing and wanting that is a push and pull of Prakriti. Yes, this realm is born of desire, and yes, desire is important. But when you are wanting something and wanting for something, where is there peace? Can there not be peace in the wanting? Where is there yoga? Where is there a state of union with the grandeur of life? The best thing a human being can wish for is to not wish for anything. Indeed, is to be content with what he already has. Because what a human being has will come in and go like the tide. The stock will trend up and down incessantly, ad infinitum, forever and ever, without end. Such is the push and pull of Prakriti, of material creation. Such is the waning and waxing of the moon, which represents the manas, the mind. But beyond the waning and waxing of the moon, there is the light of the sun. And even when the sun has set, from your perspective, still the sun shines bright. This is the light of the soul. It is not wanting for anything. It is effulgent and self-sufficient. It is pure, unadulterated, Sat, Chit, Ananda. It is existence, pure existence. Chitta, consciousness, pure consciousness, and bliss, Ananda. And the vacillations of the mind, the push and pull of raga and dvesha, of attachment, of aversion, of desiring this and not desiring that. These undulations interrupt that state of being. In the words of the Yoga Sutras, Yoga's chitta vritti nirodha yoga, that state. That state results from the restraint, the cessation of the fluctuations of consciousness. Radrashtu Swarupe Avasthanam. Then the seer, then the self, then the soul, then the Shiva principle abides in its own state. Vritti Sarupyam Itaratra. All other times, it is absorbed in the fluctuations of mind, desiring this and desiring that, not desiring this and not desiring that, liking and disliking, raga and dvesha, push and pull, pleasure and pain, and transcending the principles of polarities, there is peace, abiding peace, beyond desire. And receiving this transmission from the Lord himself, the man smiled at complete peace. And he understood that this is how Shiva blesses. Shiva, the destroyer. How does the destroyer bless but to destroy something? What is destruction other than transformation? Destruction only exists in a linear mentality. In a cyclical mentality, destruction is just somewhere in the middle of the plot, which will result in the creation of something else. And so, through the destruction of his attachment, the destruction of his ignorance, he gained awareness, he gained jnana, he gained knowledge, he gained insight, he gained wisdom, that which he lacked before. But he needed to undergo that experience in order to gain this wisdom. What are the pushes and pulls upon your consciousness? What are the desires that define you? And is there space to witness the desire? We are not in the business of demonizing desire. Desire is very important and crucial to be celebrated. Desire is a wonderful servant, but a very poor master. Are you a slave to your desires? Do they own you or do you own them? To what degree do you possess or experience sovereignty, self-rule? Perhaps this is all worth reflecting upon. If you had 3 wishes, what would they be? And would the granting of those wishes serve you in your highest good? Such is the wisdom of Shiva. Such is the wisdom of these 3 wishes. I wish you well, and I hope you enjoyed this tale, an amsha, a fraction as much as the bard enjoyed telling it to you. And perhaps we can study together at the online school, perhaps even study together in person at an in-person retreat, IndianWisdomSchool.com. Feel free to contact me if I may be of service, perhaps to your YTT or some speaking venue, etc., rajbalkaran.com. Keep well until next time. Namaste.